So either improvise weapons or bladed weapons. What's my advice? Which ones do I recommend? Which ones do I not? That's kind of like the topic of this video. So I'll go through several of the questions that I've gotten lately, either in the live stream that I did this weekend, both in my Spanish and in my English channel, questions that I get often here in the comments, in YouTube, as well as my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you'll find the link there below, as well as the links for my books, Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse. If you want to learn more about improvised weapons, blades, firearms, and how to use all of that in an efficient manner, I strongly recommend you get that one, Street Survival Skills, where I cover the things that I know work, the things that I've learned in different classes, and based on studying and learning over the years, yeah, that's the kind of advice you want to follow. So, whatever the reason, and there's a number of them, over the years, it's either I'm just not old enough, I'm just 16, I'm 17, or I just don't have the money right now. I live in a country where it's super restrictive. To that, I usually answer, well, I'm sure that even as restricted as it is, some kind of firearm you are able to own. Even in England, you can get yourself a shotgun license, and a shotgun is going to be far more effective than anything that you see here. So my first advice is really look into getting a proper firearm, because that's by far the best option, so as to having a legitimate self-defense tool. Even if it's a double-barrel hunting shotgun, with the right ammunition, it's going to be tremendously effective in keeping you safe when being attacked by a violent nutcase. That is not an option for whatever reason, and then you start exploring. And here is where people fall for a lot of bullshit that they either see in movies or they see from YouTube videos giving awful advice. My first piece of advice is blunt weapons. No. I mean, you see it all the time that the guy, the simp in the movie picks up his golf club and goes after what wouldn't bump in the night. No, you want to pick yourself a proper firearm, not that. Anything that is an impact weapon, a blunt weapon, it pales in comparison to a blade. A blade is going to be far more effective in doing a lot more damage with a lot less force. You're usually counting on distance, on swinging properly, on hitting the right part of the body of your attacker. It is a lot more difficult to defend yourself with a baseball bat or a golf club, even a crowbar, a pry bar, any of these things. And these usually have pretty sharp tips, so you could use those, but in general, no. Avoid those. And yes, you can crack someone's skull with a crowbar. It happens all the time. That does not mean that it's an adequate self-defense tool. Shovel, something like, but that's the shovel used by Spetsnaz, the Russian special forces. And we all know how clever Russians are. So if Russians are using shovels as weapons, that clearly means that they are the best weapon in the planet. Hell no. It's okay, you can crush someone's skull with it, you can sharpen it, but it's still a fucking shovel. What about a hatchet? Hatchets have been used in war for thousands of years, and quite effectively so. Now you're going into a terrain of, you have a little bit of a blade there, and it's actually quite heavy, and you can swing it with a lot of force. And I mean, between a baseball bat and a hatchet, I'll pick the hatchet. Especially if you sharpen it properly like I did, that thing is razor sharp. You can use it as a knife. So it's going to be cutting nicely, and it's going to be chopping pretty seriously. You still have a shaft which will not cut, and unlike all of these, anyone that tries to grab it will actually be able to do so. So I think it's okay. And super cool to pretend to be Mel Gibson in The Patriot with your tomahawk. Nice. I would still rather have a blade. I mean, hell, even with a screwdriver, it's been used many times as a weapon. With a long, narrow screwdriver, sharpening the tip, it's actually going to be quite effective at doing some of the worst kind of damage. And here, when we start talking about blades, you need to understand the difference between slashing, which all of these, maybe not that bad, and it's not really that sharp, but slashing and piercing, stabbing, penetrating wounds with a tip. as long as the blade is. Those are far more effective than slashing. Slashing looks horrible. It is fucking awful, bleeds a lot, but you're counting more on blood loss than directly affecting vital organs or internal bleeding. So even with a screwdriver stabbing someone's torso, you don't know exactly what you end up doing inside, but you do know that you're creating that severe penetrating wound that doctors will tell you, someone gets stabbed, that is, we have to go in there, see what was compromised, what organ was affected. Slashing, if it's not too deep, we can just stitch that up, and hopefully he will be fine if there was not enough blood loss. But my point is, you want something that penetrates and something that cuts, right? How long of a blade? Well, these days, the Glock knife, which is perfectly used for intended as a weapon, 7-inch blade, K-bar. Original World War II K-bar that I have over here. Yeah, this has been used effectively. It is a design strongly based on a hunting knife, though. So if I want to be critical here and go for the more academic approach of blades against humans, it's going to be more along that. And here's where cost comes into play. I bought this bayonet for 20 pesos. 20 pesos is about 2 cents US. Yeah, that's Argentina for you. But I got a couple of these. I wish I had bought the entire fucking box. But yeah, not cutting, not slashing, it's not even sharp. Traditional Argentine facón knife worn by the gaucho. This is a weapon. Let's not fool ourselves. It's really not all that different. And often enough, bayonets were used so as to make these. And this is for stabbing and slashing. You can use it as a tool as well, but the main intent is as a weapon. It's basically a dagger. Now, in the modern times we live in, we still have blades intended for killing. Traditional Spanish muela knife, right? This is purely intended for ending the life of a large creature. Usually it's going to be a boar, right? But it can be used against a human. Very sharp, very pointy. This will work. But you know what? Also will your kitchen knife, your chef knife. This is from IKEA. Big, sharp, pointy. Now, it is true that these often end up having problems. The tip not being designed to be used as a weapon. They may end up breaking, but damn, this can be tremendously effective. My point is, you don't need to waste a lot of money. You don't have to buy a buzzy bushwhacker mistress, right? Any short machete will do. And here I have a great one from Cold Steel, a short Bowie machete. You can have a Latin machete like that one. And actually this one, this was modified. I modified this myself, just making a little bit of a clip point. And yeah, it's going to be slashing. It cuts, penetrates. And machetes are tools intended for a lot of abuse, and they take that abuse beautifully well. So that makes them ideal as tools for self-defense. And if you want to go all the way, get yourself the freaking short sword of a machete like the one made by Cold Steel over there. But any of these things will do. I would lean more towards that sort of thing. These ones would be the ones that I would get as a tool for self-defense if I cannot have a firearm. Guys, that's basically it. A large blade. It can be a kitchen knife. It can be, a machete. Cheap, super effective, and with a little bit of knowledge, perfectly adequate to defend yourself. Guys, that's going to be all. See you.